everyone, it's Connor here from Durham Hearing Specialists. I hope you're doing well and welcome back to a very interesting video. This is an update as promised. I always said if I had an update I would give it to you. So this chap here is the case that I showed you a couple of months ago. So the physical time between this video and that one, which is entitled The Importance of Angled Endoscopes, is actually about 3 months. So it's been 12 weeks and this is what he's come into clinic with. Now at the end of the previous video, and I do encourage you to go and watch it, at the end of that video I felt like it was quite good. The ear canal had been cleaned nicely and he obviously has this huge crater here. It's kind of like what we would call a canal cholesteatoma. So there is a very well defined sort of trench or crater in the ear canal, which is just getting larger and larger. It's not a global widening like keratosis obturans. There is a defined pit in which debris is collecting. And I couldn't really see any exposed bone or granulation. There was no pus or anything like that. But it is that kind of canal cholesteatoma presentation. So anyway, at the end of the last video, I thought, great, this guy is near enough sorted. It took ages to clean out the ear and get all the mess out of the cavity, but I was pleased and I thought we'll send this guy off to ENT and he'll wait a while, but it doesn't really matter too much. Just keep the ear dry, it'll be fine. So this is what we have now. Now when he stepped into the clinic, Lils and I thought, we remember this guy. This is the canal cholesteatoma guy. Why is he back? And he's just, my ear's feeling full again. I think it's full of stuff and what have you. So Lils and I were thinking, okay, it's probably filled with pus or something like that. It's probably really infected, but it'll be an easy job. And believe it or not, an infected ear, I feel is actually much easier to clean out. You suck out all the pus and debride all the dead skin and so on and so forth. But an infected ear isn't like this. It's not like sheets and sheets of very tough dead skin or hard wax. You just go in there and hoover up all the stuff and it's quite an easy job. But obviously it's not full of pus. It's within the space of 3 months, it's filled again with this really sort of like leathery, tough, like boot sole debris. And I thought I would upload it because we were both really surprised that it's got to this stage so quickly. 12 weeks and it's filled up like this. And at the start of the procedure, hopefully you can kind of see the difference. Like if you rewind this video right to the start, it looks nothing like the ear that we left, all nice and clean. And we thought, have we made a mistake here? This looks nothing like we remember it. But it is, and it's just that the cavity is, again, filled with stuff. So I'm going in here with a hook, and this is quite a long video. Typically my videos are, usually 6-7 minutes, something like that. So this is an uncharacteristically long video, but it did take a long time. And you can kind of see what's happening here. So when we peel this off the canal walls, or I should say the trench walls, the cavity walls, you'll see it's kind of, I guess what we would say is it's like enveloped or enveloped in like what people call a white silvery matrix, which is basically just fancy terms to say that this kind of plug and debris is enveloped or coated in white stuff, which is freshly shed dead skin. And what's happening is you can kind of see how this onion-like or lasagna type thing is forming. So the skin, I couldn't see any exposed bone, but the skin of this crater has not yet ulcerated and died, but the cavity is epithelialized, so it's coated in skin, but that skin is rapidly dividing, and it has nowhere to go. So it's just kind of forming like an onion, layer, and it's turning into this, mess of dense dead skin, which bacteria love to eat and feed on. And I'm guessing that's possibly why the skin is dividing so quickly. There's obviously an inflammatory response of the skin, which is why it's dividing so quickly. whether that's a response to infection or just the sheer sort of pressure that this plug is kind of exerting on the skin, so it's like a traumatic response. I don't know, but you would tend to find that with canal cholesteatoma, you would expect it to have some sort of like infectious nature to it. So the first time I saw them, I thought that there would be, you know, pus and things like that, and granulation tissue and so on and so forth. But strangely, no. And when I dug all this out, again, it doesn't seem infected. There's no pus, there's no odor, there's nothing that would make you think, wow, this is a really bad ear infection, which it should be, but it isn't. Eardrum back there, looking okay. So we're going to go back to the suction here, and really we've got no choice but to just keep on ploughing away with it. Now, I mentioned before that we've sent this chap through to ENT, and he doesn't want to go private, which is fine, but on the NHS at the moment there is a significant wait to see an ENT consultant. But we think that this chap will end up getting a meatoplasty or a canalplasty. So plasty means repair in sort of surgical terms, and meatoplasty, well, technically this is the external, so there's the eardrum right there. This is the external auditory meatus. Meatus meaning like a canal of some kind, or you could just call it a canalplasty, external auditory canalplasty. And I think what the surgeon would do is lift up the skin as best they can and then just kind of drill it out all smooth. So technically the surgeon would drill it to such an extent that they would widen everything or make the canal larger, but they would drill it such that the cavity was no longer a pit, like a concealed pit or crater. It was just all one big smooth canal, and therefore there's nowhere for the debris to hide or collect. And you can see here I'm having quite a tough time. Now you'll see me make a mistake here in a moment or two, but this debris was really just anchored in there, and I couldn't get out for love nor money. And clearly this suction's not going to lift it out. Crocs, okay, maybe. So right here is where I make the mistake. I say mistake, I mean there's a little bit of trauma to the ridge of the crater, but kind of unavoidable. But what I really needed here was maybe like a, I don't know if such a thing exists, but like a double kinked hook. So, or just like a kinked hook, yeah. So you know the rod of the hook has like a bend in it, and then I could just kind of like delve that into the crater, which is probably something you would never do unless you knew what was in there. Now, because if you go back and watch the original video, I know kind of how it is because I've shoved an endoscope in there and an angled endoscope to look into the clear crater, so I kind of knew how deep it was. But that would have been extremely helpful, because the hook is basically just a long straight metal handle, and it's difficult to, again, get into the crater because, again, you're fighting against the ear canal. So it's quite a difficult job. So again, we're just digging it out, and we will achieve clearance again, but goodness me, it took a long time. So we're just fighting with this debris, and it is anchored in there somewhere, but I say anchored, it's just by virtue of the fact that it's like kind of like a cork. It's just such a huge chunk of debris that I wasn't expecting it. And it is moist as well, which the bacteria will undoubtedly love. So yeah, you can see here I'm kind of really digging the hook in, and what I'm doing is actually inadvertently kind of digging into the healthy tissue. Patient didn't say he found the procedure uncomfortable. I rather suspect he probably did and was just putting a brave face on, but it couldn't be helped. So again, I'm just trying to drag up out of the bottoms of the ocean this debris here, and so he's still waiting. Even now, at the time of upload, he's still waiting for this ENT appointment, and we'll see what happens. I think the surgeon will probably, almost certainly, ask for a CT scan to see exactly how deep the trench goes and how much drilling they'll need to take, how much bone they'll need to take away. Yeah, right here is where we get a little bit of bleeding. But at this point, I just wanted to clean this thing and get it over with. Yeah, you can see here I'm kind of really rubbing the hook against that skin. Alternatives to surgery, I mean, I guess he could just come back every 3 months to get it cleaned out, possibly. But I don't know how sustainable that is, because it's such a difficult job every time. And if it's left just a little bit too long, I can see this crater getting deeper and wider and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then it's going to be an absolute nightmare to clean out. It's going to be impossible to clean out. So I'm just seeing if I can tempt this out with suction, because at this point I had realised that I'd caused a bit of trauma. But that's not coming. So back in with the hook. I'm trying to be a little bit gentler this time, in a kind of scooping motion, and we'll see if we can drag out this last piece. Very, very difficult, because at this stage, basically what I'm doing, every time I dig the hook in, I'm kind of smushing it and breaking it up, which is not what I want. I'd rather just get a good hold of it so that all the dead skin wraps around the hook, and then I can just drag it up, drag it out. But again, it's very difficult, because here you would kind of think, okay, just kind of get the hook kind of vertically down and scoop round. But again, I have this horizontal canal to deal with, so it's a very, very difficult angle. It's way more difficult than what it looks. So we'll just see if we can drag it out here. After the procedure was complete, he did feel miles better. But I'm not quite sure he understands the nature of what's going on in his ear. He seems to be a fairly happy-go-lucky chap. And he doesn't quite realise, I think, the extent of what's going on here, and the depth of this crater. I'm not quite sure he understands the significance of the surgery that is before him. So, not that I think it's dangerous surgery. Okay, so finally, I'm dragging this up with the suction, and we can now start to see this sort of iceberg emerging. And it's just way bigger than what we thought. That should not be there. In 3 months, that should not be there. But there it is. It's an absolutely insane amount of debris to accumulate in such a short amount of time. So we're going to clear up, and you know, the crater looks relatively happy and okay. Eardrum looks okay. Everything looks a little sore, but otherwise this is having a slightly sore, clean cavity is much better than having a cavity full of wet debris. So there we go. That's the update. I have a feeling that he will be back at least one more time before he's seen by the surgeon. So if I do hear anything, I will let you guys know. And of course, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments section below. And of course, I'll see you guys on the next video.